can you give us an overview what exactly transpired in the Quakers Hill incident, and also could you take us through the negotiation process?
All right. So what had happened was that in December 2020, a farmers' rally was organized at a suburb called Quakers Hill in New South Wales. Now, Vishal, being a son of a farmer, saw a post on social media that there was a farmers' rally. So he and his friends, who are also sons of farmers, turned up at the rally to support the rally.
Right.
And so they stood there, and Vishal had with him and a tiranga, an Indian flag. And people were shouting slogans, and Vishal and his group also started saying slogans. So they started saying, Jai Kisan, Jai Jawan, Bharat Mata Ki Jai, and Hindustan Zindabad. A number of people at that rally took umbrage to these comments and told them to stop making those slogans.
Mm-hmm.
And Vishal and his friends said, well, this is a farmers' rally. We're not saying anything wrong. And there was an argument. At some point, Vishal had the flag with him, the tiranga with him, and he stood up on the bench and unfurled the tiranga. That further enraged this mob. So Vishal started leaving, or tried to leave, because things were getting quite unpleasant. But they stopped him. So as he was trying to go away, several of them grabbed him. And then he kept moving, but they kept hold of him, and there was a group that surrounded him and took him a number of meters away. And then they separated his friends from him. So one group took one of his friends and to an area near the trees, and they bashed the friend up with their hands, their feet, and sticks. Meanwhile, another part of that group still had a hold of Vishal. And Vishal kept trying to run away, but there were too many of them. There were 10, 15 of them.
Right.
And they surrounded him, and they kept hold of him. And then they started hitting him, punching him, kicking him, swearing at him, etc. And they were shouting slogans such as Raj Karega Khalsa, Modi Kutta, Modi Murdabad, while this was happening. And there are various videos floating around that show what had happened on that day. And you should have a still photograph of
yes,
of one part of that assault.
yes. For our viewers, this is the photograph. I don't know how much clear it is, but you can clearly see Vishal Jood being assaulted here by a mob, and that is what Mr. Singh is referring to. Now, what exactly were the charges against Vishal Jood?
Yeah, I'll come to that in a minute. So what happened on that day then? Vishal managed to get away from that mob and get away from there. And in fact, there was a police officer standing nearby who witnessed the whole thing.
Right.
So anyway, so Vishal managed to get away and run away. And as to that incident, we've made a police complaint. We've provided statements from Vishal and two other persons to the police, to Riverstone Police Station, and videos. The video where that footage is from, other videos, and they're still with the police, and police have yet to charge anyone with that particular incident.
Right.
Now, your next question was about the charges.
Yes.
So Vishal was initially charged with 11 offenses arising out of 4 separate incidents. His case was referred to the Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions, which is the body that prosecutes serious crime in New South Wales. So what happened next was that we entered into negotiations with the DPP about the matter, negotiations as to the charges and the factual allegations. Ultimately, the DPP agreed to drop 8 of the charges, and Vishal pleaded guilty to 3 charges that arose out of 2 separate incidents.
Right. And, tell us about the incident on February 14th.
Yes, the 14th February incident is the subject of 2 charges as to which Vishal pleaded guilty to. What had happened on the 14th of February was that there was a Tiranga rally organized by Indian nationals here in Sydney. It was a car rally where people flew the Indian flag and drove on a route along Sydney. Now, Vishal was in that rally. And the rally finished, and he went home with his friends. But some of the persons who had been at the rally remained at a park nearby, at a park in a suburb called Parramatta. And they were just having refreshments, which they had prepared and preparing to leave. The next thing they saw was that they saw a mob of about 100 people marching towards them, shouting slogans, similar slogans, Modi, Murdabad, etc. And this mob approached this small group. There were women and children, and a small group for half a dozen people, and said, and they were very aggressive. And they said, where are those boys? Where's Rahul Jood? Vishal is also known as Rahul. Where's Rahul Jood? And they said, give me the car numbers, all the car numbers of the persons who were at the rally. So the persons who were there rang the police. And luckily, within a few minutes, the police came and dispersed these people. Then what happened was that sometime later, maybe half an hour, 1 hour later, there was a group of people in a nearby suburb of Harris Park. And they were in various cars driving around. And there was another group of them on the road walking around with weapons in their hand. And you might have a photo of one of them shown with what looks like a golf club in his hand.
We'll show that to our viewers separately, but please do go ahead.
Yeah. Now, Vishal Jood was there in that street at Harris Park. So he was there with his friends, and there were about 4 cars that were circling around, driving slowly. And they were looking around. Meantime, on the road as well, there were these people standing there. They had golf clubs, they had baseball bats in their hands. Harris Park, there's no golf course in Harris Park, so you wonder why these people had golf clubs in their hands.
Right.
And then one of the persons in this car said, "There's Rahul Jood." And then a group came out of another car, and at least 2 of them were armed with baseball bats. And they ran towards Vishal. Vishal grabbed the baseball bat from one of them and took that bat and smashed the window screen of one of the cars. That was the offense.
Right.
The offense was being armed with an offensive weapon, that is a baseball bat, and causing malicious damage, that is damaging the windscreen of the car.
Right. So if that is the case, this is a weapon that even he did not have. He snatched it from the others because he was being attacked. Now, if that is the case, now, not just in the Australian media, but we see even some sections of the Indian media branding him as a terrorist and an extremist. Why is this happening?
Well, I can only tell you the facts that were presented to the court, and these were the facts that were presented to the court, and this was the basis on which he was sentenced.
Please remember to subscribe to us and switch on the notifications for this channel. For our other social media links, more content, and to support our work, please visit citti.net. Dhanyavad. Namaskar.